marble floor of Union Station stretched cold beneath Clara's bare feet. Her wedding dress pooled around her like spilled milk, the fabric heavy with broken promises. She had kicked off her heels somewhere between the taxi and this bench, where strangers rolled their suitcases past her misery. "I can't do this. Don't wait for me." Mark's text still burned behind her eyes. The church had erupted in whispers. Her father's voice had cut through the silence like glass. Disgrace, he'd called it. Called her. A shadow fell across her vision. Clara tensed, waiting for another phone camera, another pair of eyes feeding on her humiliation. "Rough day?" The voice was deep, gravelly, touched with an accent she couldn't place. Clara didn't look up. "Please just leave me alone." Expensive leather scraped against marble. The bench creaked as someone sat beside her, not close enough to touch, but close enough that she caught cedar and rain on wool. "I wasn't planning to sit here," the voice continued, "but you looked like someone who understood what it felt like to have your life fall apart in public." Clara's head snapped up. The man was perhaps 40, with dark hair silvered at the temples and eyes the color of storm clouds. His suit whispered money, but it was his expression that stopped her short. No pity, no curiosity, just recognition. "You don't know anything about my life." "No," he agreed. "But I know what it looks like when someone realizes they've been living a lie." He gestured toward the departure board with one scarred hand. "Where are you running to?" "Who says I'm running?" His mouth curved. The wedding dress in Union Station at 9 p.m. is usually a dead giveaway. Despite everything, Clara felt her lips twitch. "Are you always this direct with strangers?" "Only the ones who look like they might jump in front of the next train." The words hit her like a physical blow. Clara stared at him, shocked by his brutal honesty. "I would never—" "Good," he said simply, "because that would be a waste." They sat in silence, watching travelers hurry past. Clara studied his profile, noting the way his jaw tensed, the careful way he held himself, as if ready to bolt. "What's your story, then?" she asked finally, "since we're apparently bonding over public humiliation." He was quiet so long she thought he wouldn't answer. "Let's just say I learned today that 15 years of marriage doesn't mean what I thought it meant." Something shifted in Clara's chest. "She left you." Worse. His eyes met hers, and she saw darkness there that made her own pain seem simple. "She took everything, including my daughter." The words hung between them like a bridge. Neither was sure they wanted to cross. "I'm sorry," Clara whispered. "Don't be. We're both exactly where we're supposed to be right now." A train whistle echoed through the station, long and mournful. The departure board flickered, updating destinations. Each city name a door to a different life. "Alexander Cain," he said suddenly, extending his hand. Clara hesitated, then took it. His palm was warm, callous despite the expensive suit. "Clara Dawson." Alexander stood, adjusting his coat. "Well, Clara Dawson, I have a proposition for you." Clara's heart hammered against her ribs. "A proposition? I don't even know you." Sometimes that's exactly what someone needs. Someone who doesn't know their story, doesn't have expectations, doesn't carry the weight of their past mistakes. "What kind of proposition?" Alexander glanced around the station, noting scattered travelers, security cameras, teenagers with phones. "Not here. Too many ears, too many eyes." He pulled out his phone and made a quick call, his voice dropping to a low murmur. Clara caught fragments. "Car ready. 15 minutes. Yes, the penthouse." When he hung up, Clara was already shaking her head. "I'm not going anywhere with you. For all I know, you're some kind of predator." Alexander's laugh was sharp, bitter. "If I were a predator, I'd have chosen someone less likely to fight back." "You've got fire in your eyes despite everything. That tells me you're a survivor." "How do you know what happened today?" "Because I recognize the look of someone whose world just imploded. Because I can see the tan line on your finger where an engagement ring used to be. Because you're sitting alone in a wedding dress instead of dancing at your reception." Clara's hand moved to cover the pale band of skin on her ring finger. "You're very observant for a stranger." "I didn't get where I am by missing details." His voice carried an edge of something darker. "And where I am is about to become very dangerous." "What do you mean?" Alexander was quiet for a long moment, his jaw working. My wife didn't just leave me today, Clara. She stole $40 million from my company and disappeared with our daughter. The FBI raided my offices 3 hours ago. By tomorrow morning, my face will be on every news channel in the country. The blood drained from Clara's face. You're a criminal? No. His eyes burned with barely contained fury. I'm being framed by someone I trusted with everything. Someone who knows exactly how to destroy me from the inside out. The station suddenly felt too small, too exposed. Why are you telling me this? Because in about 10 minutes, every reporter in Chicago is going to be hunting for anyone connected to Alexander Cain. But you're invisible to them. You're just another heartbroken woman who got left at the altar. Clara stood abruptly, her dress rustling. I'm not getting involved in whatever this is. I'm not asking you to get involved. I'm asking you to disappear with me. I have a safe house, resources they don't know about. I can keep you hidden until this blows over. Why would you want to help me? Alexander's expression softened slightly. For a moment, Clara glimpsed something vulnerable beneath his hardened exterior. Because you're the first person in years who's looked at me and seen a man instead of a bank account. Because you have nowhere else to go. And because I think we might need each other. A black sedan glided to a stop outside the station's main entrance. Through the glass doors, Clara could see a driver waiting. That's my ride. Alexander extended his hand. Come with me, Clara. I promise you'll be safe. Clara stared at his outstretched hand. Behind her lay the wreckage of her old life. Ahead stood a stranger, offering protection and promising danger in equal measure. If I go with you, what happens when this is over? Alexander's smile was sharp enough to cut glass. Let's survive the next 24 hours first. Then we'll figure out what comes after. Clara looked at his hand, then at his face, searching for something she couldn't name. Whatever she found must have been enough, because she reached out and took his fingers in hers. The moment their skin touched, she felt a jolt run up her arm. Alexander's eyes darkened. He felt it too. What have I gotten myself into? She whispered. Alexander's grip tightened as he pulled her toward the exit. Something that's going to change both our lives forever. The penthouse was a fortress of glass and steel, suspended 40 stories above Chicago's glittering skyline. Clara stood in the center of the living room, still clutching her overnight bag, feeling like an imposter in a museum. Everything was pristine, expensive, untouchable. Even the silence felt costly. You can breathe, you know, Alexander said from behind her, his voice carrying a hint of amusement. It's not a crime scene yet. Yet, Clara muttered, then immediately regretted it when she saw his expression darken. Alexander poured himself 3 fingers of whiskey from a crystal decanter, amber liquid catching the city lights through floor-to-ceiling windows. He didn't offer her any. The guest room is down the hall. There are clothes in the closet that should fit you. My ex-wife was about your size. The casual mention sent a chill through Clara. Where is she now? If I knew that, I wouldn't be a wanted man. Alexander drained half his glass in one swallow. Rebecca always was good at disappearing when things got messy. I just never thought she'd take Emma. The pain in his voice when he said his daughter's name was so raw that Clara took a step toward him without thinking. How old is she? 7. She loves horses and hates vegetables and thinks her father can fix anything. Alexander's grip tightened on his glass. She's probably terrified right now, wondering why Daddy isn't coming home. Clara's chest ached with sympathy. We'll find her. Alexander's eyes snapped to hers. This isn't your fight, Clara. Maybe not. But you helped me when I had nowhere else to go. The least I can do is return the favor. Something shifted in Alexander's expression. A crack in the armor he wore so carefully. You don't understand what you're offering. This isn't just about money or fraud. Rebecca has connections, resources, people who would kill to protect her secrets. Then tell me. Help me understand. Alexander was quiet for a long moment, studying her face as if memorizing it. Rebecca's family owns half the pharmaceutical companies in the Midwest. When we married, I thought I was getting a partner. What I got was a spider at the center of a web I didn't even know existed. He refilled his glass. For 15 years, I helped her launder money through my company. I didn't know. I swear to God I didn't know. But ignorance doesn't matter when the FBI comes knocking. Clara sank onto the leather sofa, her wedding dress spreading around her like a parachute. She used you. She used everyone, her own daughter included. Alexander's voice turned bitter. Emma isn't just leverage. She's insurance. As long as Rebecca has her, I can't go to the authorities with what I know. What do you know? Alexander turned to face her fully, and Clara saw something dangerous flash in his storm-gray eyes. I know where the bodies are buried. Literally. The air in the room seemed to thicken. Clara's pulse hammered in her throat. You're saying your wife is a murderer. I'm saying my wife's family has been eliminating competition for 3 generations, and I have proof locked in a safety deposit box that could bring down their entire empire. Then why haven't you? Because the moment I make a move, Emma dies. Alexander's voice cracked on his daughter's name. Rebecca made that very clear in the note she left. Clara stood, crossing to where Alexander stood by the windows. Up close, she could see the exhaustion etched into his face, the shadow of stubble along his jaw, the way his hands trembled slightly as he held his glass. There has to be a way. There isn't. I've spent the last 3 hours going over every possible scenario. They all end with Emma in a grave and me in prison. He looked at her, and Clara saw defeat in his eyes for the first time. I'm out of moves, Clara. I'm out of time. Before she could stop herself, Clara reached up and took the glass from his hand, setting it on the windowsill. Then she did something completely insane. She took his face in her hands. Look at me, she said softly. We just met. I don't know you. You don't know me. But I know what it feels like to be abandoned by someone you trusted. I know what it feels like to have your entire world ripped away in a single moment. Alexander's hands came up to circle her wrists, but he didn't pull away. Clara, I'm not finished. Her voice was stronger now. You saved me tonight. You gave me a reason to keep going when I had nothing left. So I'm going to help you get Emma back, even if it kills me. It might? Then we'll die together. The words hung in the air between them, weighted with meaning neither was ready to acknowledge. Alexander's thumbs stroked the inside of her wrists, feeling her pulse race beneath his touch. You're either very brave or very stupid. Clara's lips curved. Can't I be both? For the first time since she'd met him, Alexander smiled. Really smiled. It transformed his face, softening the harsh lines, making him look younger, less haunted. I think you might be exactly what I need. The moment stretched between them, charged with possibility. Clara became acutely aware of how close they were standing, of the heat radiating from his body, of the way his eyes had darkened as they dropped to her lips. Then Alexander's phone buzzed, shattering the spell. He pulled it from his pocket, his expression hardening as he read the screen. All the warmth drained from his face. What is it? Alexander turned the phone so Clara could see. It was a photo of a little girl with dark curls and Alexander's storm-gray eyes, sleeping in an unfamiliar bed. Below the image was a single line of text. TikTok, Alexander. The clock is running out. That was sent from Emma's phone, Alexander said, his voice hollow. Rebecca's giving me 24 hours to turn myself in to the FBI and confess to everything. If I don't, she'll disappear with Emma forever. Clara felt ice flood her veins. We have to call someone. The police, the FBI. The FBI thinks I'm the criminal. The police are Rebecca's family's employees. There's no one to call. Alexander's hands clenched into fists. I have to turn myself in. It's the only way to keep Emma safe. And spend the rest of your life in prison for crimes you didn't commit. If it keeps my daughter alive, yes. Clara grabbed his arm, forcing him to look at her. What if there was another way? What if we could find Emma before the deadline? In 24 hours? That's impossible. You said you have proof. Evidence that could bring down Rebecca's family. What if we used it as bait? Alexander stared at her, and Clara watched as understanding slowly dawned in his eyes. You want to trade the evidence for Emma. I want to make Rebecca think we're trading the evidence for Emma. But really, we'll be setting a trap. That's insane. We'd need resources, people we can trust, a plan, so we make a plan. Clara's voice was fierce now. You're a businessman, right? You negotiate deals, manage risk, outmaneuver competitors. This is just another negotiation. Alexander shook his head slowly, but Clara could see the spark of hope kindling in his eyes. If we do this and it goes wrong, they'll kill us both. And if we don't do it, you lose Emma forever, and I go back to being the woman who got left at the altar. Clara squeezed his arm. I'd rather die fighting than live with that. Alexander studied her for a long moment. Then slowly he nodded. All right, but we do this my way. And Clara? His voice dropped to a near whisper. If things go sideways, you run. You don't look back. You don't try to be a hero. You just run. I'm not leaving you. Clara, I said I'm not leaving you. Something fierce and protective flashed across Alexander's face. He pulled her close suddenly, wrapping his arms around her. Clara stiffened for a moment, then melted into his embrace, feeling his heart hammer against her cheek. Thank you, he whispered into her hair. For not running. For staying. For being exactly what I needed when I needed it most. Clara pulled back just enough to look up at him. We're going to get Emma back. I promise. Alexander's hand came up to cup her cheek, his thumb brushing away a tear she hadn't realized had fallen. How did I get so lucky to find you tonight? Luck had nothing to do with it. This was fate. The words hung between them, true and terrifying in equal measure. Then Alexander's phone buzzed again. They both looked down at the screen. Another photo of Emma, this time awake, her eyes red from crying. Below it, 3 words. Time is running. Dawn broke over Chicago in shades of bruised purple and gold. Clara stood at the penthouse windows, watching the city wake below. She'd changed into clothes from Rebecca's closet, dark jeans and a black sweater that fit like they'd been made for her. The wedding dress lay crumpled in the guest room, a ghost of yesterday's life. Coffee? Alexander emerged from his study, looking like he hadn't slept. He probably hadn't. Neither had she. Please. Clara took the mug he offered, their fingers brushing. That same electric jolt ran through her, stronger now, harder to ignore. I made contact with someone who might be able to help us, Alexander said, leaning against the counter. An old friend from my military days, Marcus. He owes me a favor. Can we trust him? With my life. I already have. Clara sipped her coffee, studying Alexander's face. In the morning light, she could see the weight he carried. The years of lies he'd lived with, believing his marriage was real. Tell me about her. Rebecca. Alexander's jaw tightened. Why? Because if we're going to beat her, I need to understand how she thinks. He was quiet for a long moment, staring into his mug. She was beautiful, brilliant. When I met her, I thought I'd found my other half. She was everything I wasn't. Connected, charming, at ease in any room. His voice turned bitter. I didn't realize I was the mark until it was too late. When did you figure it out? About 5 years ago. I found irregularities in the company accounts, money moving through channels I hadn't authorized. When I confronted her, she cried, apologized, said her family had pressured her into helping with some investments. He set his mug down hard. I believed her. God help me, I believed every word. Clara moved closer, drawn by the pain in his voice. It's not your fault, isn't it? I chose to marry her. I chose to have a child with her. I chose to ignore every red flag because I was too proud to admit I'd been played. You loved her. That's not a crime. Alexander's eyes met hers, and Clara saw something raw there, something that made her breath catch. I don't think I ever loved her. I think I loved the idea of her, the perfect wife, the perfect life, the perfect lie. He reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind Clara's ear. But this feels real in a way nothing has in years. Clara's heart hammered. Alexander. His phone rang, shattering the moment. He pulled it out, his expression hardening as he read the caller ID. It's Marcus, he answered, putting it on speaker. Talk to me. I've got good news and bad news. Marcus's voice was rough, military crisp. The good news is I found Emma. She's being held at a warehouse on the south side. Industrial district, minimal security. Alexander's entire body went rigid. And the bad news? The bad news is it's a trap. Rebecca wants you to find her. She's got the place wired with enough explosives to level the block. Clara felt ice flood her veins. Why would she do that? Because dead men tell no tales, Marcus said grimly. She gets rid of Alexander, gets rid of the evidence he has on her family, and plays the grieving widow. It's perfect. Alexander's fist clenched on the counter. What about Emma? She's there. I saw her through the thermal imaging. But Alex, the moment you step through that door, you're a dead man. Then I'm a dead man. Send me the address. Alex, send me the address, Marcus. There was a long pause. Sent, but I'm coming with you. Give me 2 hours to gear up. We don't have 2 hours. The deadline is in 8. Alexander's voice was steel. I'm going now. You'll die. Then I'll die. But I'm not leaving my daughter in that place one more second. He hung up before Marcus could argue. Clara grabbed his arm. We need to think this through. If it's a trap, it doesn't matter. Alexander's eyes burned with determination. Emma is in there. That's all that matters. And what about the evidence? The proof you have on Rebecca's family? It's in a safety deposit box downtown. I'll leave you the key. If I don't make it out, you take it to the press. Clara's heart lurched. I'm going with you. Absolutely not. You can't stop me. Alexander turned to face her fully, his hands gripping her shoulders. Clara, listen to me. This is a suicide mission. I know that. I've accepted it. But you have your whole life ahead of you. You don't have to die for someone else's mistakes. Maybe I'm not dying for your mistakes. Maybe I'm living for something that finally matters. The words hit Alexander like a physical blow. He stared at her, something desperate and hungry in his eyes. Why? His voice cracked. Why would you do this for me? Clara reached up, cupping his face in her hands. Because in one night, you've given me more purpose than Mark did in 3 years. Because you see me. Really see me. Not just some prize to parade around or discard when it's convenient. Because when I look at you, I see someone worth fighting for. Alexander's control shattered. He pulled her close, crashing his lips against hers in a kiss that tasted like desperation and coffee and something darker. Clara melted into him, her hands fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer, deeper, until she couldn't tell where she ended and he began. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Alexander rested his forehead against hers. If we're doing this, we do it smart. Marcus is right. Walking through the front door is suicide, but there might be another way. Tell me. The warehouse district. I used to work there years ago before I started my company. Those buildings are connected by old service tunnels. If we can get into the building next door, we can access the warehouse without triggering the explosives. Alexander smiled, fierce and dangerous. Exactly. Clara felt hope kindle in her chest. So we have a chance. A slim one. But a chance. They spent the next hour planning, mapping routes, identifying risks. Clara watched Alexander transform from grieving father to tactical strategist, his military training emerging like muscle memory. By the time they were ready to leave, the sun had climbed high over Chicago, painting the penthouse in harsh, unforgiving light. Alexander handed Clara a small pistol. Do you know how to use this? My father took me shooting when I was young. Clara checked the chamber with practiced ease. I'm a little rusty, but I remember the basics. Good, because if things go sideways, I need you to promise me something. Clara met his eyes. What? You'll use it. On me if you have to. I can't let Rebecca take me alive, not after what I know. The request hit Clara like a punch to the gut. Alexander, promise me, Clara. She wanted to refuse, wanted to tell him it would never come to that, wanted to believe they'd both walk out alive. But she'd seen the look in his eyes when he talked about Rebecca. The fear beneath the fury. I promise. Alexander kissed her then. Slow and deep and achingly tender. When he pulled back, his eyes were bright with unshed tears. Thank you. For everything. For seeing me. For staying. For being the one good thing in all this darkness. Clara's chest ached. We're going to make it out. Both of us. I hope you're right. They took the service elevator down to the parking garage, moving quickly, staying alert. Alexander's car was a sleek black Mercedes, understated but powerful. The drive to the warehouse district took 30 minutes through morning traffic. Clara watched the city slide past, memorizing details, storing them away like they might be her last. When they arrived, the area was deserted. Abandoned factories and warehouses stretched in every direction. Windows shattered, walls tagged with graffiti. Alexander parked 2 blocks from their target. The service tunnel entrance is in that building. He pointed to a dilapidated structure with a collapsed roof. Once we're inside, a car pulled up behind them. Clara's hand went to her pistol, but Alexander shook his head. It's Marcus. A man climbed out of a black SUV. Tall, muscular, with close-cropped gray hair and a face carved from granite. He carried a duffel bag that clinked as he walked. "You're an idiot," Marcus said by way of greeting. "Nice to see you too." Marcus's eyes shifted to Clara. "And who's this?" "Clara Dawson. She's helping me get Emma back. She's a civilian. She's also standing right here," Clara said sharply. Marcus studied her for a long moment, then grunted. "You've got spine. You're going to need it." He unzipped the duffel, revealing tactical gear and weapons. "Here's the situation. The warehouse is rigged with pressure sensors and motion detectors. The explosives are on a dead man's switch, which means the moment someone lets go of the trigger, the place blows." Alexander finished grimly. "Exactly. Rebecca's inside with Emma and at least 4 armed guards. The good news is the service tunnel is still accessible. The bad news is, once you're inside, you've got maybe 5 minutes before they realize you're there." Alexander strapped on a tactical vest, checking his weapons with mechanical precision. Clara did the same, trying not to think about how surreal this all was. "Here's the play," Alexander said. "Marcus, you create a distraction at the front entrance. Draw their attention. Clara and I go through the tunnel, extract Emma, and get out through the back. And Rebecca?" Alexander's expression turned cold. "Leave her to me." They moved into position. The service tunnel entrance was hidden behind collapsed debris. It took them 10 minutes to clear enough space to slip inside. The tunnel was dark, dank, smelling of rust and stagnant water. Clara clicked on her flashlight, the beam cutting through the darkness like a knife. They moved quickly, silently, Alexander leading the way. Clara could hear his breathing, steady and controlled, could feel her own pulse hammering in her throat. The tunnel opened into a basement storage room. Above them, Clara could hear footsteps, voices, the unmistakable sound of Emma crying. Alexander's jaw clenched. He moved toward the stairs, but Clara grabbed his arm. "Wait. Something's wrong." "What do you mean?" Clara pointed to the floor. Fresh footprints in the dust, leading away from the stairs. Someone had been down here recently. "It's another trap," she whispered. Alexander's eyes widened. He turned, reaching for his weapon, but it was too late. The lights blazed on, blinding them. When Clara's vision cleared, she found herself staring down the barrel of a gun, held by Marcus. "I'm sorry, Alex," Marcus said, his voice genuinely regretful. "But the money Rebecca offered was just too good to pass up." Alexander's face went pale. "You sold me out. I sold you out 10 years ago. How do you think Rebecca got access to your company in the first place? How do you think she knew exactly which accounts to target?" Marcus smiled, cold and cruel. "I've been feeding her information since the beginning." Clara felt the world tilt. The betrayal was so complete, so devastating that for a moment she couldn't breathe. "Emma!" Alexander choked out. "Where is she?" "Safe for now, but that depends entirely on your cooperation." Footsteps on the stairs. Rebecca descended, beautiful and deadly in a black suit, her heels clicking against concrete. She looked at Alexander with something that might have been pity. "Hello, darling. I've been waiting for you." Rebecca circled them like a predator, her heels echoing in the concrete basement. Up close, Clara could see why Alexander had fallen for her. She was stunning, all sharp edges and cold beauty, like a knife wrapped in silk. "You always were too trusting, Alex," Rebecca said, her voice smooth as honey. "It's what made you so easy to manipulate." Alexander's hands clenched into fists. "Where's Emma?" "Upstairs, sleeping. I gave her something to keep her calm. She won't remember any of this." Rebecca's eyes shifted to Clara, assessing. "And who is this? Your new girlfriend? Moving on rather quickly, aren't you?" "Leave her out of this." "Oh, but she's already in it, darling. The moment she walked through that door with you, she became part of the story." Rebecca smiled, cold and sharp. "Tell me, does she know what you really are? What you've done?" Clara felt Alexander tense beside her. "Don't listen to her," he said quietly. "She's trying to get in your head." "Am I?" Rebecca tilted her head. "Or am I telling truths you've been too ashamed to admit?" What is she talking about? Clara asked. Nothing. He killed a man, Rebecca interrupted smoothly. 5 years ago, one of my family's competitors. Alex thought he was protecting me, protecting our business. What he didn't realize was that he was doing exactly what I'd manipulated him into doing. Clara's blood ran cold. She looked at Alexander, searching his face for denial. What she found instead was confirmation. It was self-defense, Alexander said, his voice hollow. He came after Rebecca. He had a gun. He had an empty gun, Rebecca corrected. I made sure of it. And then I made sure Alex found us at exactly the right moment. Made sure he'd react the way any protective husband would. She laughed, the sound like breaking glass. You pulled the trigger, Alex. You became a killer for me. And I've had evidence of it locked away ever since. The betrayal went deeper than Clara had imagined. She felt sick, dizzy, like the ground had dropped out from under her. You used me, Alexander whispered. I used everyone. It's what I do. Rebecca's expression hardened. Now here's what's going to happen. You're going to give me the evidence you have on my family. Then you're going to turn yourself into the FBI for fraud, money laundering, and murder. And if you do all of that, I'll let Emma live. And if I don't? Rebecca pulled out her phone, showing them a live feed. Emma was indeed upstairs, sleeping in a small room. But Clara could see the explosives wired around the perimeter, the red lights blinking in rhythm with her pulse. If you don't, I press this button and we all die. Simple as that. You'd kill your own daughter? She's not my daughter. Rebecca's voice was flat, emotionless. She's a tool, a means to an end, just like you were. The words hung in the air like poison. Clara saw something break in Alexander's eyes. Something fundamental and irreversible. You never loved her. Love is for weak people. Alex, I thought you understood that. Marcus shifted, his gun still trained on them. Clara noticed his grip was loose, distracted. He was watching the exchange with something that might have been discomfort. Marcus, Clara said quietly, you are military. You have a code. Honor. Don't, Marcus warned. There's a child upstairs. An innocent little girl who's going to die if you let this happen. Shut up. Is the money really worth a child's life? I said shut up. But Clara saw the crack, the hesitation. She pressed forward. What would your brothers in arms think? What would you think, looking back on this moment? Knowing you chose money over a child's life. Clara, Alexander said softly. Don't, but she couldn't stop. This was their only chance. You knew Alexander for years. You fought beside him, bled beside him. Does that mean nothing? Marcus's jaw clenched. His finger twitched on the trigger. For a moment, Clara thought she'd pushed too far. Then he moved. Fast. Trained. Lethal. He swung his weapon toward Rebecca, but she was faster. The gunshot was deafening in the enclosed space. Marcus crumpled, blood blooming across his chest. Rebecca's gun swung toward Clara. Nice try. But I've been planning this for 15 years. Did you really think some wedding day reject could outsmart me? Alexander lunged. But Rebecca's finger was already on the detonator. One more step and we all die. Alexander froze. Clara's mind raced. They were trapped. Marcus was dying on the floor. Emma was upstairs with enough explosives to level the building, and Rebecca held all the cards. Unless. Clara remembered the pistol tucked at her back. Rebecca had been so focused on Marcus's weapon that she'd forgotten about Clara's. But to reach it, she'd need a distraction. She met Alexander's eyes, and in that moment, something passed between them. Understanding. Trust. Acceptance of what had to happen next. Alexander, Clara said quietly, I need you to trust me. Clara, don't. I love you. The words came out before she could stop them, raw and honest and terrifying. I know it's insane. I know we just met, but I love you, and I need you to trust me right now. Something fierce and bright flashed in Alexander's eyes. I trust you, Clara turned to Rebecca. You want the evidence? I know where it is. Rebecca's eyebrows rose. Do you now? Alexander told me. Before we came here, he gave me the key, the location, everything. If you kill us, you'll never find it. She's lying, Alexander said quickly. But Clara caught the subtle shift in his posture. the way he was positioning himself between her and Rebecca. Am I? Clara took a step forward. Alexander is too smart to come here without insurance. He knew this might be a trap. So he gave me everything. If anything happens to him, I'm supposed to take it to the press. Rebecca's eyes narrowed. You're bluffing. Try me, for 1 second. Rebecca's attention shifted fully to Clara. Her gun moved, tracking Clara's movement. That was all Alexander needed. He lunged, slamming into Rebecca with the full force of his weight. They hit the ground hard. The detonator flew from Rebecca's hand, skittering across the concrete. Clara drew her pistol, but Rebecca was already moving, snake-quick, her own weapon coming up. The gunshot was louder than anything Clara had ever heard. Alexander jerked backward, red spreading across his chest. He collapsed, his eyes finding Clara's. Run, he gasped. Get Emma, run, no. Clara's scream tore from her throat. Rebecca scrambled for the detonator, but Clara was faster. She fired once, twice, 3 times. The first shot went wide. The second caught Rebecca in the shoulder. The third hit center mass. Rebecca fell, her eyes wide with shock. The detonator dropped from her fingers, inactive. Clara ran to Alexander, dropping to her knees beside him. Blood poured from the wound in his chest, hot and dark. No, no, no. Clara pressed her hands against the wound, trying to stop the bleeding. You're not dying. You're not leaving me. Alexander's hand came up, weak, trembling, to cup her face. Emma, promise me you'll get her out. We're both getting out. Both of us. Clara. His voice was fading. Listen to me. The evidence. Safety deposit box. First National Bank. Box 2847. Code is Emma's birthday. Take it. Finish this. Alexander, please. Tell Emma I love her. Tell her I tried. His eyes started to close. No. Clara shook him. Stay with me. Alexander, stay with me. But his hand fell away, his breathing slowing. Clara felt something inside her shatter. She'd known him for less than 24 hours, but in that time he'd become her purpose, her reason, her hope for something beyond the wreckage of her old life, and now he was dying in her arms. A sound from above. Footsteps. Emma. Clara looked up at the stairs, then down at Alexander. Every instinct screamed at her to stay, to hold him, to be with him in his final moments. But Emma needed her. With shaking hands, Clara pressed one last kiss to Alexander's forehead. I love you, she whispered. I'm sorry I couldn't save you. Then she stood, her legs barely supporting her weight, and ran for the stairs. Behind her she heard Alexander's voice, so faint she almost missed it. Clara, don't trust anyone. The words followed her up the stairs, echoing in her mind as she burst into the room where Emma slept. The little girl woke with a start, her storm-gray eyes wide with fear. It's okay, Clara said, forcing her voice to stay calm. I'm a friend of your daddy's. We need to go right now. Emma's lip trembled. Where's Daddy? Clara's heart shattered all over again. But she couldn't fall apart. Not now, he's coming. But we need to go first. Can you do that for me? Can you be brave? Emma nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. Clara scooped her up, checking the room for explosives. She found the charges, carefully wired, professionally done. Too professional. Something cold settled in Clara's gut. She looked closer at the detonator system. It wasn't connected to Rebecca's remote. It was on a separate trigger. Someone else was controlling the explosives. No, Clara breathed. Below, she heard movement. Footsteps. Not the stumbling sounds of someone dying, but measured, purposeful steps. Alexander appeared in the doorway, very much alive. His shirt was still covered in blood, but there was no wound. He looked at Clara with those storm-gray eyes, and in them, she saw something that made her blood freeze. I'm sorry, he said quietly, but I did warn you. Don't trust anyone. Clara held Emma tighter, her mind racing to process what she was seeing. Alexander stood in the doorway, blood still covering his shirt, but moving with the fluid grace of someone completely unhurt. Squibs, he said, answering her unspoken question. He pulled at his shirt, revealing the small explosive charges movie productions use to simulate gunshot wounds. Hollywood magic. Very effective. Clara's world tilted. You weren't shot. No, I needed Rebecca dead. I needed witnesses, and I needed you to believe it was real so your reaction would be authentic. His eyes held genuine regret. I'm sorry. I know how that sounds. Emma squirmed in Clara's arms, reaching for her father. Daddy! But Clara stepped back, her free hand moving to her pistol. Don't. Alexander's expression hardened. Clara put the gun down. This isn't what you think. Then what is it? Because from where I'm standing, you just manipulated me into killing your wife. Rebecca wasn't my wife. Not really. She was my handler. The words made no sense. Clara shook her head, trying to clear the fog of betrayal. I don't understand. My name isn't Alexander Cain. It's Alex Reeves. I'm CIA, deep cover for the past 15 years. He took a step forward, hands raised. Rebecca was assigned to me as part of my legend. The marriage, the company, all of it was cover for an operation targeting her family's criminal empire. Clara's finger trembled on the trigger. You're lying. I'm not. Emma is my daughter, that part is true. But Rebecca went rogue 3 years ago, started using the operation for her own gain. The money laundering, the fraud, it was all her. I've been trying to find a way to bring her down without compromising the entire operation. And I was what? Your weapon? You were supposed to be collateral damage. Alexander's voice softened. A random woman at a train station who I could use as a witness. Someone with no connections to me, no stake in the game. But then I started talking to you, and you were real in a way nothing in my life has been for 15 years. Clara wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe him. But she'd seen the cold calculation in his eyes when he'd let her think he was dying. If you're CIA, prove it. Alexander reached slowly into his jacket. Clara tensed, but he pulled out a phone, different from the one he'd been using. He typed something, then held it up. The screen showed a classified file with his photo, details, operation parameters. It looked official, but Clara had no way to verify it. Documents can be faked. Yes, they can. Alexander set the phone down, which is why I need you to listen very carefully. Rebecca's family knows I'm CIA. They've known for years. This whole setup was designed to flush out my handlers, identify the other agents in the network. If I don't deliver you to them in the next hour, they'll execute everyone I've been working with. Clara's blood ran cold. You're going to hand me over? No. The word was absolute. I'm going to get you and Emma out of here, but I need you to trust me one more time. Trust you? After everything you just did? I know. Alexander's voice cracked. I know what I'm asking. But Clara, every moment we stand here arguing is a moment closer to more people dying. Emma started crying, sensing the tension. Clara bounced her automatically, her training as a kindergarten teacher kicking in. It's okay, sweetie. Everything's going to be okay. But she didn't know if that was true. Clara, Alexander said quietly, that moment in the penthouse when you said you loved me. Did you mean it? The question hit her like a physical blow. Clara wanted to lie, wanted to protect herself from more pain. But she'd never been good at lying. Yes. Then trust me one more time. Please. I swear on Emma's life, I will get you both out of this safely. Clara studied his face, searching for the man she'd met at the train station, the one who'd sat beside her in her darkest moment and offered not pity, but recognition. The one who'd made her feel seen for the first time in years. She found him there, beneath the lies and manipulation, beneath the operative and the role. She found the real person, just as broken and lost as she was. If you're lying, Clara said slowly, if this is another manipulation, I will end you myself. I know. Clara lowered her weapon. What do we do? Relief flooded Alexander's face. He moved quickly, pulling Emma into his arms, kissing her forehead. We have a window. Marcus was supposed to report in 10 minutes ago. When he doesn't, they'll send reinforcements. We need to be gone before they arrive. What about Rebecca? Leave her. The CIA will handle the cleanup. They moved down the stairs. Clara avoided looking at Rebecca's body, avoided thinking about the fact that she'd taken a life. There would be time to process that later. If she survived, the service tunnel was clear. They ran, Emma clinging to Alexander, Clara bringing up the rear. Behind them, Clara heard voices shouting, the sound of vehicles pulling up. "They're early," Alexander cursed. "Move faster." They burst out of the tunnel into blinding daylight. Alexander's car was where they'd left it, untouched. He threw Emma into the back seat, Clara beside her, and gunned the engine. Gunfire erupted behind them. The rear window shattered, spraying glass. Clara threw herself over Emma, protecting the little girl with her body. Alexander drove like a man possessed, weaving through traffic, taking turns at speeds that made Clara's stomach drop. Behind them, 2 black SUVs gave chase. "Hold on." Alexander yanked the wheel, sending them careening down an alley barely wide enough for the car. Metal screamed as they scraped against brick walls. They emerged onto a main street. Alexander ran a red light, narrowly missing a bus. The SUVs fell back, blocked by traffic. "Safe house is 15 minutes away," Alexander said, checking the mirror. "We're going to make it." But as they turned onto the highway, more vehicles appeared. 4 of them, boxing them in. They were waiting for us, Clara realized. Alexander's jaw clenched. "Hold on to Emma. What are you—" He slammed the brakes. The car behind them crashed into their bumper, the impact violent enough to snap Clara's head forward. Then Alexander hit the gas, swerving into oncoming traffic. Horns blared. Tires squealed. Clara closed her eyes, certain they were about to die. When she opened them, they were clear, speeding down an exit ramp toward the warehouse district. This isn't the way to the safe house. There is no safe house. Alexander's voice was tight. "That was a lie, too. I needed to keep you compliant until I could figure out how to extract you. The betrayals just kept coming. So what now?" Alexander pulled into an abandoned parking garage, killing the engine. He turned to face Clara, and in his eyes she saw exhaustion, fear, and something that looked like genuine emotion. "Now I make a choice, the one I should have made from the beginning." He pulled out his phone, the real one, and made a call. "This is Agent Reeves. Extraction code Omega-7. I'm compromised. Pulling the trigger on Operation Lighthouse." Clara heard shouting on the other end. "I don't care about the operation. I care about the civilians I've put in danger." Alexander's eyes never left Clara's. "I'm initiating full extraction. Send the cavalry to these coordinates. And someone better be ready to take Rebecca's family down, because I'm about to give you everything." He hung up. "You just ended your operation. Your career. I ended a lie." Alexander reached over, taking Clara's hand. "These past 15 years, I've been pretending to be someone I'm not. Playing a role, following orders. But last night, sitting in that train station with you, I felt like myself for the first time since I joined the agency. Alexander, my real name is Alex. Just Alex. And I'm asking you, not as an operative, not as some manipulative bastard running a con, but as me, please forgive me for using you, for lying to you, for making you care about someone who wasn't real." Clara looked at their joined hands, then at Emma, sleeping in the back seat, exhausted from fear and adrenaline. "The person I fell in love with last night," Clara said slowly. "Was he real at all? The emotions were real. The connection was real. Everything else was just packaging. That's not an answer." Alex squeezed her hand. "The truth is, I don't know who I am anymore. I've been undercover so long I've forgotten where the role ends and I begin. But when I'm with you, I feel like I might be able to figure it out." Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. "Your cavalry. Our cavalry." Alex looked at her intently. "Clara, I know I have no right to ask this, but when this is over, when the dust settles and the truth comes out, will you give me a chance? Not Agent Reeves, not Alexander Cain, just Alex, the real me, whoever that turns out to be." Clara thought about Mark, about the life she'd planned, the safe, predictable future that had imploded at the altar. She thought about the past 24 hours, the fear and adrenaline and impossibility of it all. And she thought about the connection she'd felt, sitting on that bench in Union Station, talking to a stranger who'd seen her in a way no one else ever had. "I'll give you a chance," she said finally. "But Alex, no more lies, no more manipulation, no more games. If we do this, we do it real." "Real," Alex agreed. "I don't even know what that looks like anymore, but I want to find out." The sirens grew louder. Black vehicles poured into the parking garage surrounding them. Agents in tactical gear emerged, weapons drawn. Alex kissed Emma's forehead, then looked at Clara one last time. Whatever happens next, thank you. For being real when everything else was fake. For seeing me when I'd forgotten how to see myself. Clara leaned forward, pressing her lips to his in a kiss that tasted like truth and possibility, and the terrifying prospect of a future unwritten. We're going to figure this out, she whispered against his mouth. Together. Together, Alex agreed. They stepped out of the car, hands raised, Emma between them. The agents moved in, professional, efficient, separating them. As they led Clara away, she looked back at Alex. He was being handcuffed, surrounded by his colleagues, his cover blown, his operation over. But he was smiling, and somehow, impossibly, so was she. 3 months later, Clara stood outside the federal courthouse, watching the morning sun paint Chicago gold. The trial was over. Rebecca's family's empire had crumbled under the weight of evidence Alex had spent 15 years collecting. Justice, such as it was, had been served. Alex emerged from the building, no longer in cuffs, no longer hunted. He'd been cleared of all charges, his service to his country finally acknowledged. Emma ran to him, and he scooped her up, spinning her around. The little girl laughed, bright and clear, the sound of healing. Then Alex's eyes found Clara's. He walked toward her slowly, Emma on his hip, a man emerging from the wreckage of his own lies. "Hi," he said when he reached her. "Hi," Clara replied. "I wasn't sure you'd come. I almost didn't." They stood in silence for a moment, two broken people learning how to be whole. "I'm going to therapy," Alex said finally, "trying to figure out who I am when I'm not pretending to be someone else. How's that going?" "It's hard. Scary. I don't have all the answers." "Good," Clara smiled. "Because I don't want someone with all the answers. I want someone real," Alex set Emma down. The little girl immediately went to play on the courthouse steps, watched by a handler. "I have something for you." Alex pulled out a small box, battered and worn. "I found this at a pawn shop. It's not much, but I thought you might want it." Clara opened the box. Inside was a simple silver ring, unadorned, honest. "It's not an engagement ring," Alex said quickly. "I'm not asking you to marry me. We barely know each other." "Then what is it?" "A promise that I'll spend every day trying to be worthy of the chance you gave me, that I'll never lie to you again, that whatever we build, we'll build it on truth." Clara took the ring out, studying it in the morning light. It was nothing like the diamond Mark had given her, nothing like the life she'd planned. It was better. "No more secrets," she said. "No more secrets," Alex agreed. Clara slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. "So what now?" Alex looked at Emma playing in the sun. Then at Clara standing beside him. Then at the city spreading before them, full of possibility. "Now we figure out who we are. Together. No lies, no games, no roles to play. Just us, building something real from the ashes of everything we've lost." Clara took his hand. His palm was warm, calloused, real. That sounds terrifying. It does, doesn't it? They stood there, two survivors of their own separate tragedies, watching the sun climb higher over Chicago. Behind them lay wreckage and betrayal and pain. Ahead lay uncertainty and challenge and the terrifying prospect of genuine connection. But for the first time in longer than either could remember, they felt hope. Emma ran back to them, taking both their hands. "Can we get ice cream?" she asked. Alex and Clara looked at each other and laughed. "Yeah," Alex said, squeezing both their hands. "We can get ice cream." And so they walked down the courthouse steps together, a makeshift family forged in chaos, held together by truth, stepping into a future neither had planned, but both were ready to face. Because sometimes the best stories don't start with a happily ever after. They start with two broken people, a train station, and the courage to believe that something real can rise from the ruins of beautiful lies. The end.